What's up, everybody? It's Big D, Derek in the house. I want to talk about relapse. I think it's important, first of all, to understand relapse from what? Relapse? I don't understand. What is this? So, first of all, I want to talk about what relapse is defined. It's defined as someone suffering from a disease or suffered deterioration after a period of improvement. So you can relapse from practically anything. It's used as a noun, a deterioration in someone's state of health after a temporary improvement. You're doing good, and bow, you go back. Okay? In the context of drug use, relapse or reinstatement of drug-seeking behavior is a form of spontaneous recovery that involves the reoccurrence of pathological drug use after a period of abstinence. Relapse is often observed in individuals who have developed a drug addiction or either form of drug dependence. And last but not least, I think this is important to start out with. A person who tries to stop using drugs can make mistakes, feel bad, and start using again. This return to drug use is called a relapse. Relapse is common and normal and happens to a lot of people recovering from drug addictions. It's the same with quitting drugs. Okay, rather than going into a lot of definitions and meanings, and I'm going to be doing a video at some point on, is addiction a disease? Which I know is controversial. I'm going to interview professionals though. I'm going to have actual PhDs in the field explain and go into more detail as to why is this a disease, why is it treated like one, why is it claimed to be one, and go into the reasoning behind the using of drugs and what is going on in the mind of an addict. There's a lot of behavioral, there's a lot of brain issues that go on as to why we do what we do. But I remember relapsing, and I'm not going to go into my heroin days, because with heroin, when I started heroin, I never actually quit heroin. I tried quitting heroin multiple times and couldn't even get past the quitting phase, like to get to where I detoxed. So I'm going to go back to a point where I was doing really bad on Opanas. I was sniffing Opanas and getting anything I could get my hands on, but especially wanting the Opana if I was going to hit that mark. And I remember the last time they bribed me to go to detox, they gave me 5 30 milligram stop sign Opanas that day. And I was throwing up, and I was going to the next bathroom at the next gas station, crushing it on the lid of the toilet, and throwing up again after I did that, lid of the toilet. And I just remember the like blanking out and waking up, and there's this lady who's got blood pressure machine on my arm in a detox center. And I'm like, what am I doing? And she's like, you checked yourself in. You know, you guys brought yourself in here. You're in a detox center trying to get off drugs. I was shocked. I was like, are you kidding me? Like, I woke up in this place, couldn't believe what I was, that I was there, because reality starts to set in. It's like a bad dream. Using drugs is like, if you're not someone who's used drugs, it's like a dream. And you can't control dreams a lot of times. It's somewhat like that. And when you get clean, it's like you woke up from a dream. You were asleep this whole time, and you wake up from a dream. And you're fragile in that situation. You're very fragile when you wake up from that dream, but you don't want to go back. And what's funny, and I want to say this for those of you who've used and who are active or in recovery, you remember when we were in active addiction, or those who are in active addiction who's actually been clean before, there are things that you remember. There's certain things you remember only when you're using that you can remember when you're using. And there's things you can only remember while you're clean. And you remember it because when you go back, or if you've ever relapsed, you remember and you forget things that you remember when you're clean. And it's kind of like there's a part of your brain that shuts off completely. And it opens back up when you're clean, and then you go back to using, and you only remember that stuff in that one part of the brain when you were using. It's weird. Anyway, I left the detox center after being there for 2 or 3 days. I think 2 days. I wish I would have stayed, looking back professionally wise, but I had so much going on home. I couldn't trust the situation at home. I didn't know what was going on. I was losing my mind. And the doctor was asking me, he was like, Derek, are you sniffing your pain meds now that you're taking? And I was like, yes, sir. And he's like, oh, okay. All right. And I'm like, what is he writing down? Why is he writing things? Okay. Have you ever shot up? I said, no, sir. I have not. Oh, okay. So he's diagnosing me. Like, this guy is checking me out hard, and I'm feeling like an animal on an experiment. I'm losing my mind because all the stuff that's going on at home at this time. I decide I'm going to go. I'm going to leave. I'm going to go home. I know the reason why I left too is I was scared. I'm watching all these people. There are people that used to panhandle where I lived in Fayetteville, North Carolina. There was this one guy who actually was mad, I think, that my wife and mom gave him like 23 cents one time, and he threw it back at them. This guy was really bad off on the deep end. And that happened after this, but I met this guy in the detox center, and I remember having to give this guy change on the street corner. I thought to myself, I'm nothing like this. Like, I am so nothing like this. I don't relate to this. Maybe I'm in the wrong place. What am I doing? I made some bad choices. It's just a choice. These guys made bad choices too. They don't care. That's why they do it. They just don't care. That's why they choose to keep doing drugs. That's all it is. And I didn't even know what I was getting myself into. So I'm going to leave. I meet this guy. There's this gentleman from New York who's in this detox. He says, I've been to detox 40 times. He says, I'm probably going to be doing this the rest of my life. I can't stop. And he's back in there, and he says he's been in the methadone clinics, and the methadone was free in New York where he was at. And he was just telling me this, and it's scaring me because I'm like, I'm not going to do this. I'm just going to make a choice, because they say it's a choice, right? It's not a disease. I'm going to make a choice to live my life clean for the rest of my life. When I leave this place, I'm scared. I just read this pamphlet that asked me, have you stolen from your wife and your kids and your mom or dad? Have you lied about your drug use? Have you gotten in trouble over your drug use? Have you? No, yeah, no, yeah. Well, if I answered a certain amount of yes or no's, then by the end of that, you find out real quick you're a drug addict, or at least labeled one. In the middle of me checking this pamphlet out, I'm freaking out because they're trying to tell me I have a serious issue. I have a disease of addiction. And I'm like, no. I just made bad decisions. I'm not one of those guys. No. But it scared me. And as I went to leave, because I was checking out, the doctor was notified, and he met me at the door. He says, Mr. Lambert, I just want you to know that I've met thousands of patients. And you're a stand-up guy. You're smart, you know. He says, but the statistics are not in your favor, and the likeliness of you relapsing is very, very probable, and that you're not going to stay clean unless you do something radically different with your life. Everything has to change. And I remember leaving there going, everything is going to change. I'm never doing this again. I was so scared. I called my brother, who was still in active addiction, Kurt, and he picked me up from the detox. He's like, bro, I got to stop by someone's house on the way home. And I'm like, I don't care. I just need to get home. I don't care. There's still a tug of war going on inside of me, though. It's weird. Like, I kind of had this tug of war, like, I'm lucky that I even stayed clean. I went and walked to mom and dad's house, didn't even have socks on, got blisters in my shoes on my feet, and I borrowed their Buick. They were not happy to see that I wasn't in detox. They were all freaking done with me. And I went to a meeting, and this old man with half a jaw, I've mentioned this before, just, hey, boy, you're in the right place, boy. I'm going to tell you, keep coming back. It works if you work it. And those cliches, you know, I love those cliches. They mean so much, and they're true. They've worked for me. I ended up going there, picking up a white chip, sticking it out, coming back, asking about where that button's at. Where's that button that I can press that turns this thing off? And I'll never have to use drugs again or alcohol or nothing. And I'll just be happy. And you know, there's got to be a button, right? Everybody has there's like a button. That's why you guys are clean. And they all laughed. No, this thing's a lifetime journey. And I thought to myself, oh my gosh, what did I do to myself? You know, because you kind of beat yourself up. Things you've done and the struggles. I got 28 days clean, and I went to go see my cousin. And when I was coming back from going to see my cousin, I remember I was thinking about using. Now, my question was, how am I going to use? Right? Thinking about it now. Think about with me. Think where I'm at. And I want you, if you're in active addiction or early to recovery, to understand what I'm saying here. Even if you're long-term recovery, just to feel what I'm saying here. I was thinking about using, but using what? Well, I love painkillers, and my favorite was Opana's. How am I going to get it? I don't have anyone's number, right? Wrong. I got their number in my phone. Shit, I even had a phone. Well, why did I even have a phone on me? Was I even trustworthy to even have one at the moment? Should I have had a number in that phone that I could access? I knew people, I knew places and things that could get me what I was craving at the time. So I called the meeting, one of the guys in the meetings. I was like, dude, I'm losing my mind. I had a call list I want to use. He said, man, you got some balls, bro. You called me in the middle of wanting to use. That's awesome, bro. I'm glad you did that. And I was patting myself on the back. But I was like, I don't know. And I thought about it for the next hour and a half. And I kept feeding into the idea. And I remember, like, I couldn't control how I was obsessing over it. 28 days, no detox anymore. I'm not hurting anymore. My sleep's fine. My energy levels are great. I'm feeling back. Like, why would I go back to suffer and do the same things? I romanticized on the feeling. I forgot about the end. I remembered the beginning. So I go home. I literally started an argument with my wife on purpose so that I could leave the house and take off, go meet up with this guy that I had the number on, which is why I shouldn't have numbers. You got to change everything, right? That's literally what has to happen, is you have to change everything. And if you don't, your odds are so much more unlikely that you're even going to make it. It's just literally, this is why rehabs and stuff like that are very important. Now, I meet him up. I get two stop signs. There's the burgundy or the red Opanas. And I go to my mom's apartment complex, crush one down, do half of it, because my tolerance is really low. I don't need to overdo it. And even that I shouldn't have done. And I recorded myself apologizing to the wife. And while I recorded myself, I was thinking to myself, hey honey, I'm sorry. I wanted to apologize for being a jerk and blah, blah, blah. Yep. Right now. Yep. And I said that in the middle of the video when the drug kicked in. And I thought later when I was watching that recording, I wish I still had them for you guys, how insane I was recording myself on purpose to show what I look like when the drug kicks in and have it recorded. From clean to not clean. I went on a 3-week binge doing that, and I reached out to another person in the meetings, and they were like, no shame, come back in, man, come back in, don't feel guilty. Yeah, well, I felt guilty, and I want you to know if you've relapsed or you're struggling, you're still out there, if you've been in my Discord and you've relapsed, and you've thought about coming back in, but you're ashamed, or you just don't want to look, you think what people will think of you or anything, don't. We love you, man. We love you. We love you. So don't think that. Anyway, things happen, and this is an example of that. 28 days, 3-week binge after that, and I reach out, and the guy's like, come back in, but I didn't. I was struggling. I was like, dude, I don't want to go in there. I'll be embarrassed. I'll look like, dude, he was headstrong. He acted like he knew it. He told us all that he knew it. He had it. And I did for that moment, for those 28 days. And then I called my sister. My sister said, you know, Derek, ask God, your higher power, whatever you believe that is, even if it's yourself, inside your own mind, some greater purpose in yourself, and ask it to help you by taking it away, putting it on a shelf far away, and hiding it from you. I said, okay. And then she said, and go to a meeting. I went into a meeting, I opened up, spilled the beans, told on myself, and I felt amazing by releasing that and telling everybody exactly how I felt and where I was at. Nothing felt better. It was so powerful being able to release that and give that recovery the chance. And it was like a light shining in my soul. That's all I can only equate it to, a light shining in my soul. People are out here working on stuff at the house, but I didn't have to hold the crap in anymore. I didn't have to hold it in, and I didn't hold it in. When I let that stuff out, I felt like $1,000,000, and I actually got some time under my belt. I didn't relapse after that. I kind of commit. When I do stuff, I do commit, and I had 2 years clean, and of course, this time I actually relapsed by not using opioids. I relapsed by using alcohol. Hey, if Jesus can drink wine, right? Why can't I? And I started drinking wine. Wine turned into all sorts of other stuff, and that ends my relapse thing. And all that being said, is it happens. People relapse. Don't give up. Don't stop. Come back in, get back into meetings, get back into recovery, whatever it is that you do, and don't be ashamed, because it does happen. I'm not encouraging that you have to relapse. I'm saying if you have, and definitely not encouraging it, don't stay stuck beating yourself up on this. Things do happen. Everyone watches my channel and goes, Derek got it the first time? He must not have had that bad of an addiction. Man, I've been struggling on and off for years. I've been doing this thing for, I'd say 8 to 9 years. I was, on, off, struggling, trying to beat this thing. If you total out all the years that I did using, from drinking to using, and the heroin and everything, I finally learned, and I was really going to meetings a lot. During that 2-year period that I had gotten clean and then relapsed on alcohol, I was going to meetings all the time. I went to meetings for at least a full year every day. And if I missed one that day, it was rare. So I learned a lot in those rooms and how to kind of really take these principles to heart. I'll leave on this note. We go to school and we graduate when we hit 12th grade in high school, okay? When people graduate, they think, I'm done, cool, I graduated, no more. But many people don't recognize the reason we have 12 grades is so that you can carry on what you learned in those 12 grades in your life. You don't just graduate and you're done. It's graduate so that you can use what you've accomplished over these 12 grades into your life throughout the world. You may not use all of those things, but at some point I found most of the stuff I've had to learn in high school has come in handy in some way, shape, or form. Most. That being said, that's what 12-step program's all about. Learning how to go through 12 steps of life that you practice, and they come in handy when you least expect them. So when you have an emotional trigger or a trigger happens, you have tools to keep you from relapsing from people, places, and things that can easily send us back out there using. Love you guys. Like, subscribe, share this thing, and thanks for listening. Big D. Peace.